All right. We look good. I think we're on. I kind of delayed there for a second. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Nope. Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Frozen.
Frozen.
All right, my friend. We can jump in. Let me check something real fast. Okay. All right. Sip of water there. And sip of water over here. Might as well. All right. Let's do it. Welcome to Just Curious Media. This is Let's Talk Cobrakai. I'm Jason Connell.
And I'm Sal Rodriguez.
All right, Sal. We are back for another episode.
Another special episode.
Special episodes. It's the season.
Yep.
And today, this is really a unique one, a first, because today we're talking about a movie very close to my heart. Not The Karate Kid, not The Karate Kid Part 2, not The Karate Kid Part 3, not the... No, I'll stop. It's Better Off Dead. Came out in 1985 because one of our cast members from Cobra Kai is in it.
What?
And although I knew it, I'd forgotten about it. And I watched it the other day and I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Wait, you just happened to discover this?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Nice.
Chosen is in it. Yuji Okumoto is in this movie. And so we're calling this episode Better Off Dead 1985, Scenes with Yuji Okumoto. I remember him vividly now because I saw this movie long before I saw the Karate Kid Part 2 because it preceded it. Sure. But I also hadn't revisited this movie in a long time. And for Let's Talk Movies, I'm doing that more, although I haven't covered this on that episode, on that podcast yet, but I should. But I stumbled on him. I was like, oh my gosh, let's explore this here. Let's look at the scenes he's in and just talk about it some. And before we came on, you told me what about this movie? What's your relationship with this movie?
The movie Better Off Dead?
Yeah.
Well, my relationship with this movie is I've never seen it before. That's my relationship. I didn't have a relationship before you brought these scenes to my attention, and I love it. And just the scenes I saw, this movie looks hilarious. I got to see it, and especially all the more reason now after knowing that Yuji's in it.
Exactly. That's going to put on your radar for sure. And hopefully some of our fans who haven't seen it and those who have seen it, well, we'll go back now and be like, oh my God, he is in it. Now, because it did come out in 85. In 1986, I keep saying next, the Karate Kid Part 2 comes out.
Yes.
Which of course has Yuji Okumoto as Chosen Taguchi. Now, did this movie help him, catapult him? Didn't hurt. This is a pretty good comedy, high profile comedy, popular. I'm sure it was a launching point for him. Yep. And this movie, though, that we're talking about briefly before we get to the scenes, was written and directed by Savage Steve Holland, and it starred John Cusack. Now, this is John Cusack on that, super high trajectory that he was on in the early 80s. He plays Lane Meyer, lovable loser. But, Sal, between 83 and 86, 1983, 1986, John Cusack was in Class. These are all great movies for their day, and some better than others. Class, 16 Candles, John Hughes, Grandview USA, The Sure Thing, Rob Reiner, great movie. Stand By Me, also Rob Reiner. He plays a bit part, but he's really good. And
I don't remember him I'm sorry, Jason. I do not remember him in Stand By Me, and I saw it a few times.
Chance's older brother who dies. He's in flashback sequences.
He plays the older football player brother who dies?
Older brother, baseball player.
Oh my God. Yeah, River Phoenix's older. Oh no, I'm sorry, it wasn't River Phoenix.
No.
Will Wheaton's older brother.
Will Wheaton's older
brother. Who died. That was John Cusack?
And Marshall Bell plays the father. This is coming full circle. Who we played at the festival. One of his movies. I got to know Marshall Bell. We were both honored in Tulsa on my birthday. I got honored at the Circle Cinema, and he became Marshall Bell Day on my birthday. I got to know him, and I'm like, oh my God, you're the jerk dad. Stand By Me. Yes. So that was John Cusack. He was on this a tear.
Yes.
And this is one of those movies because he went from Class, 16 Candles, Grandview USA is just supporting, and then he's the lead in Better Off Dead. Yeah. So this is that timeline.
Wow. And hang on. Also in this timeline, just for more of a frame of reference, Jason, right at this very moment, as Yuji is on the set of Better Off Dead, Machio's on the set of The Outsiders. Yes, would that be around this time frame?
No, Machio would have been on the set of The Karate Kid.
Oh, hello. Yes. Okay. Outsiders was like 82 or 83.
Yeah, I mean, think when they made this movie, right?
Yes, yes,
well,
yes.
I mean,
Okay, yeah.
maybe Karate Kid had wrapped.
No. I jumped a movie. Yeah.
So anyway, the synopsis for this movie, because there's a lot of there's very memorable people in this movie. Okay, there just is. Like
Curtis Armstrong. I love him.
Curtis Armstrong, Booger from Revenge of the Nerds, and he's in Risky Business. And so you'll go back and go, oh my gosh, look at this. I mean, there's a ton. They're sprinkled all in this movie. And we're not doing a deep dive in this movie. So I'm trying to stop myself from doing so, like what we would do on Let's Talk Movies.
Sure.
But the synopsis for this movie, just to give people, some information, some background. After his girlfriend this is all about Lane Meyer, John Cusack. Okay.
Mhm.
After his girlfriend ditches him for a boorish ski jock, Lane decides that suicide is the only answer. It's called Better Off Dead. However, his increasingly inept attempts bring him only more agony and embarrassment, filled with the wildest teen nightmares. So kind of clunky at the end there, but that's what's going on. He's got ditched by his girlfriend, Beth, and he'd rather be dead. Right. And then he starts to kind of discover himself. And there's an arc. He goes from being a loser to kind of super popular. We love these tropes. We saw it a lot in the 80s.
Sure.
And although Yuji's not like his best friend, but he has a very memorable role in this movie. One that I would quote for years, not way before I knew who chose it. In fact, when I saw Karate Kid Part 2, I don't even know if I made the connection initially because he's such a bad guy, such a villain as chosen. You hate him. Yeah. So to get connected this way. So Yuji Okumoto plays Yee Sook Ree. And I don't want to get too much into it, but let's just say that he plays an Asian character who learned how to speak English by watching the wide world of sports and specifically Howard Cosell. So that's how he learned how to speak English. That's his character. Now he's always with his brother who plays Chen Ree, and that's played by Brian Imada. Now just a quick thing on him, because he won't say a word. He's like a mute. He was in Big Trouble in Little China. John Carpenter. We both love that movie. We love John Carpenter. Yep. He played Wing Kong Hatchet Man. So he's in some of those wild scenes. Yeah. And he did a lot of stunt work after that. It's one of which I wrote down, They Live. Also, nice. John Carpenter.
I love They Live.
So kind of cool. But what we're going to do is look at these three scenes that really, show and spotlight Yuji and talk about it. But anything else you want to talk about before we jump in?
No, I love this concept of seeing where people are like in space and time right before that moment. And for our purposes of Karate Kid, right before he's chosen. This is Yuji before chosen. I love that.
Before he was chosen for the Karate Kid Part 2.
Wow. Hello.
What'd I do there? Now it's, if he's not in this movie, is he in Karate Kid Part 2? If we get chosen Yuji on the show, we can see maybe he was already on board. I was going to not mention this, but just since we're talking, the movie before this that he was in, Real Genius, Val Kilmer. Now he played a very bit role in that, and I nearly pulled that into the same episode. But I was like, let's save it. I love that movie, filmed at Occidental College. I love it. Very dear to my heart as well. Super memorable sci-fi comedy. A lot of those were happening back then. Yeah. But anyway, let's dive into this. Let's look at these scenes. I got to cue them up one by one. Well, you can talk over them or we can talk in between them. It doesn't matter.
No, but I will say this, Jason, because I'm realizing this as you and I are going along, and yes, we're about to get to it, is we've never done a show quite like this, because every time we cover some of our stars, our stars of Cobra Kai, and we go back in their career, they're always playing the same roles, right? It's martinkove playing Kreese in a commercial, right? It's Johnny Lawrence playing, William Zabka playing Johnny Lawrence in a commercial. Yeah. So this is like, for example, one of our listeners asked us to do Lucille. What's Lucille's name? Our actress who plays Lucille?
Oh, Randy Heller.
Randy Heller. Somebody asked us to go back and look and like review a Randy Heller movie, and we're like, well, she wasn't playing Lucille.
No, see her on Mad Men.
Okay, yeah. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this,
Yeah.
so now we're doing
Yeah.
that now. We open
We're
up the
breaking
door.
new ground
There we go.
tonight. Good
So,
call.
yeah,
Good
yeah. Look
call,
for our
Sal.
review of Mad Men with Randy Heller probably coming up soon.
I love Mad Men. Well, before I go on to the scenes, I wanted to cue this up too, because this, I didn't realize this. Well, in the past I did, but today I was like, wow, check this out. The poster for Better Off Dead, right over there on my shoulder. That's what we're looking at, folks. I
Yep.
took the Let's Talk Cobra Kai logo and I moved it aside for the Better Off Dead poster.
Yes. For the listeners,
Right
Jason
here.
has a very pleasant looking studio with a beautiful television screen behind him. He doesn't have a bunch of toys behind him as I do.
No, he does not. Now, look, I believe, so there's John Cusack, and that
Yes,
kid was
yes.
on Head of the Class. There's
Yes,
Curtis
yes.
Armstrong. There's Beth, his girlfriend. There's his new love interest. She was also in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, but I
Uh-huh.
believe this is Chosen. Well, Yuji.
Yes.
I
That's
believe he
Yuji
made
in the back.
poster. That's Yee Sook Ree. He made, because he has such a memorable role. He knows no one else in this movie. He only has a connection with Lane, and you're about to see it. But he made the poster.
That's pretty cool that they considered that, because
I
he's not
know.
like, he's not a big character. He's just a memorable character.
That's exactly right. And there's
Wow,
more to
nice.
that. So back to the let's go back to there. Boom, back to Let's Talk Cobra Kai. And now I'm going to cue these up. So give me a
Yep.
second, because I have to find them on my version of Apple, because I own the movie now, which is great. There it is, Better Off Dead. So I'm going to cue the first one up.
Jason and I have argued about what ownership means, because he says, I own the movie. I go, let me borrow it. He goes, I can't. I go, but you said you own it. He goes, I do. I said, then let me borrow it. And he says, I
Even
can't.
if
I'm
I-
like Abbott and Costello here.
Even if I own the Blu-ray, I wouldn't want to loan it. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. It takes just a second. Unfortunately, it's an imperfect situation here. Okay, I'm going to 8:35. Okay, tell me if you can hear it. Can you hear
Getting
it?
ready.
Okay.
Getting ready.
Oh, wait. Are
I'm
you
not seeing or
that?
hearing yet. I'm not seeing or
Oh,
hearing anything
yeah,
yet.
I see. I didn't realize it wasn't on. Sorry. Here we go. Testing this. Here we are, folks. All right, Sal. And we should almost be there.
I see it. I see it.
Okay.
I see John Cusack.
It's an awesome spectacle. An audacious display of thieving opponent. Once again,
There
perilous
he is.
in an obstinate attempt to prove superiority of the ropes, unequal in our lifetime. The
I love
crowd
this.
swelled with
Visualize.
anticipation as the lights turn green.
So the cars are side by side, and he basically challenges them to a race, is what he's doing,
Yes.
right? In
Well, then
effect.
here come, you might recognize him from the movie. The
You
trilogy,
stupid bonehead,
Porky's.
I'm gonna
That
activate
was
your
Porky. Okay,
Stir.
so we'll stop
You know
there.
what? I never saw Porky's. I
Oh
only
my
heard about
gosh.
Porky's, and it was like so like raunchy, right? Wasn't Porky's like a
yeah, it
raunchy
was
movie?
I wasn't even allowed to see it until I was old enough. but
Really? I
Now,
gotta see it.
today's standard, it's kind of like American Pie, right?
Okay.
But back
Well, as in
then,
like is for the era itself, right?
for the era itself, exactly.
Yeah, I gotta see it.
So, like you just said, that it's perfect for the listener. What we saw was Lane Meyer driving his family truckster, his
Yeah.
station wagon, and then he pulls up to a stoplight, and then
Yeah.
here comes, I guess we'll go by their stage names,
Sure.
Yee Sook Ree and Chenri. Chenri does the driving.
Yeah.
Yee, played by Yuji Okumoto, is doing all the talking, and they have speakers on
Yeah.
top of their car, and he's doing Howard Cosell.
Yes.
You know, like Lane Meyer,
Mhm.
he's doing this. It's Wide World of Sports,
Yeah.
and they're always challenging them to racing.
Mhm.
But then Lane Meyer had it in reverse like an idiot. And
Yeah.
he hits the car behind him, and they
Yes.
take off. So that's
The
the
Porky scene.
first racing scene. There's one more racing scene, and then there's an ending scene, which I say chosen, listen to me, which Yuji reprises his role. So this is number 2. And this time, go on, please.
No, I was just gonna say, Jason, the thing of it is I love this scene. It's so funny. But like he didn't need the speakers, because this is the era when he could have used Mr. Microphone. Remember Mr. Microphone?
Totally could have used Mr.
Hey girls, we'll be back to pick you up later.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But I it's a good image. It's a good shot
It's
of
funny.
the speaker. On
You know
the
what
hood.
it's like? Hang on. Animal House at the end, right?
Yep.
Wasn't there speakers on top of the?
Yeah,
Yes,
that whole
yes,
thing.
yeah.
So this is a great sequence too, because now there's people in the car. The foreign exchange students up front with him, who becomes the love interest, and there's Ricky from head of the class. He's in the back, and
Yep.
and that's who she lives with.
Mm.
But he now explains the Ree brothers to them.
Oh,
and the
yes, yes, yes.
audience gets more insight.
Yes,
so this is
yes.
really a good information here.
Yeah.
So let me cue this up, and we'll continue on. Another red light. And here they are.
Oh no, not
By the
that.
way, this is like 50 minutes later in the movie.
Okay.
So it's like, oh, they're back.
What do they want? They want a race.
Lane Maya, the kid from Greendale.
See, here's a good example.
Greendale. They live
Two
in
brothers.
Glendale.
One speaks no English. The other learned how to speak English from watching the wide world of sports. So you tell me which is better, speaking no English at all or speaking Howard Cosell?
The chances seem slim that this once great has the nerve, the desire to win that he once had.
You must obey the proper speed limits. A car is not a toy.
Obviously admitted the
Okay, so the girl punches the accelerator, and they're going forward this time. Lane is going forward, not in
good.
reverse.
That's a good thing.
Great shots, by the way.
Exceeding the limit. Lane Meyer said it.
Oh, and now
Oh,
there's nuns in the middle.
Nuns
of this.
walking across the street. This can't end well.
Not
It
good.
was like a
Avoids the
sound issue.
nuns. Does a 360.
Huh?
Gets in reverse.
Oh no.
There's
Oh
a
no.
construction site, something out of Dukes. of
Oh my
Hazzard.
God.
Yeah.
They went
Yeah.
backwards up a ramp into, I thought it was cement, but it's like a small river.
A small pond, a pipe
Yeah, yeah.
breaks or
Oh
something.
my God.
So he's failed twice, 2 encounters with the Ree brothers, and he's lost both times. But that time was
Oh,
closer. And it's funny. And please, viewers, listeners, check it out. Like
Yeah,
this
it's
is an
pretty-
inspiration to
I-
watch Better Off Dead.
No, it's hilarious. I love it. I really do. It looks so stupid silly.
So the first one was about 8-9 minutes in the movie. The second one right here was just over an hour. And now we're going to the end. I don't want to give a spoiler for the movie, but this is
No.
the tail end of the movie. And we're just going to go to the scene with Yuji.
Yes.
So
Yes.
let me go there now. No spoilers here on
No spoilers.
Let's Talk Cobra Kai.
Yeah. Because you'll be a spoiler for me. I haven't seen the movie yet.
I know. Here we go. Okay. Well, there's a little bit of a spoiler, but I'm not going to talk about it. Right. Everyone's cheering. A lot of cheers. A lot of cheers. Lane Myers, he was on the ski slopes. He may or may not want to race.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's Curtis Armstrong. There's the what they call him, Boorish ski jock.
Oh, yes. Yes. Yes.
There's his ex-girlfriend.
Ooh,
It's always, this was a common theme in movies. The ex wants you back. The new girl's upset.
I've been there.
It's happened in Teen Wolf.
We've been worried about you, Monique.
Up here. Do you know how long a drive it is to get here? Ricky, get it, Steve. Come on, we're going home.
Okay, sets the stage.
Excuse me,
There he comes.
this is truly a sublime metamorphosis of the Lane Mile. I think the crowds were expecting to see here at Brody Mountain today.
Brody Mountain.
Perhaps you can tell us what brought on such an enchanting, exhilarating thing.
Language lessons.
Language lessons. Inspired words from a man who knows how to ski.
There it was. Okay, that was
That-
it. That's such
What
a
a-
great line.
No, but you know what we learned there, I think, by that statement is that actually Yee Sook Ree's character is more integral to the overall storyline, right?
Very
Than
true,
than I
very
knew,
true.
20 minutes ago.
Exactly.
Very interesting.
And what he's referring to as language lessons was she was a French foreign exchange student
Mhm.
who didn't like the home that she was in, so she would not speak English to them.
Yes.
And only slowly she revealed that she does know English. You
Mm.
know, you can hear her French accent.
Mhm.
And then that's kind of where the insider thing was. But I love that whole breakdown.
Oh
that
no,
whole exchange.
I was thinking when he said language lessons.
Language lesson.
Well, how did Yee learn English? By Howard Cosell.
Well,
That's a language
it's
lesson.
very meta. Yeah, it wasn't that, but yeah, he was
Okay.
referring to the foreign exchange student.
Okay, I see.
No, yeah. No, it was just a coincidence.
I see.
So
I like it,
great
man. This
sequence there.
movie looks really funny. I
It's
think I want to
great.
see it.
It's a comedy that holds up. And so that was the first time the Ree brothers were not in the car. They drove to the mountain.
They got
and
the gold coats on.
Get to Lane. They've always got the gold coats on, which you saw in the wide world of sports.
Nice.
Now, here's what I learned out before we did this episode. Some trivia.
Mm-hmm.
Because it sounds so much like Howard Cosell. I figured it was
Sure.
Howard Cosell. They kind of sampled it, or Rich Little. Because
I didn't think it was Howard Cosell.
Well, I mean, at first, when as a kid, it was like,
as a kid, you
wow,
thought
is
it was
that
Howard
Howard Cosell?
Sure,
But then
sure.
I quickly realized it's got to be someone who can do Cosell, which
Yes.
was Rich Little. In
Yeah,
our
yeah.
day, he was everywhere. He could do every impression,
Yeah, and when we say
And
everywhere,
so-
like he was on all the shows, he's on the Tonight Show.
all the shows.
Like if
all
Dick
the
Clark
shows.
hosted a show,
Bob
he was on
Hope,
that show.
Dick
Yeah,
Clark.
he was all over the place. Yeah.
So here's what I read. Here's some trivia.
Mm.
In post-production, it was decided to bring in impressionist Rich Little to overdub Okumoto's voice with Little's customary Cosell imitation without the Asian accent.
Yeah.
Says Okumoto, they explained that they wanted to make sure the audience understood the dialogue. It was a little disappointing, but hey, it's their film.
Well,
So
yeah.
now he's in the movie, but his voice isn't in the movie.
Yes.
So that's kind of a downer. So,
Yeah.
but he does get good screen time. He's memorable, him and his brother.
Sure.
And so I'm happy. I just want to think that this had something to do with catapulting him into
Wow.
the Karate Kid Part 2.
Well,
That's
I
what
really
to
like.
think.
No, I think it's great. I love knowing where people are in space and time. So here we are in 1980. What did we say? 5, right?
Yeah, the movie came out in 85, so they're probably filming it obviously in 84, but yes.
Okay, so I wonder if there was an in between here. Was there an in between Better Off Dead and Karate Kid 2? Something in between there? No.
I would have to look at his IMDb.
Okay.
But I mean, after a movie like this that was popular, that had
Yeah.
a rising John Cusack, it definitely
I bet there
helped.
wasn't anything big in between.
Well, big. I don't think anything big was in between, but yeah, he could have appeared in something.
No, but like, you know what? Like as an actor,
I like how you ask questions, but you never do your own research.
No.
I've got to scramble.
Here's what I mean though. Like, for example, as an actor, when we have, let me back up. As fans, we look at IMDb.
He was in he was in two things in '86. You know how things are real fast.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
in an episode of T.J. Hooker.
Oh wow.
And then he was in the movie The Check is in the Mail, which I vaguely remember, but they all came out in '86.
Okay.
So that means they all could have been shot simultaneously. I don't know. Then right after The Karate Kid Part 2, he was on an episode of Simon and Simon. So he was making the rounds. Those were big
Okay.
shows back then, TJ Hooker, Simon and Simon. But go
Sure.
on,
Oh yeah,
please.
definitely. Well, my point being, when it comes to being an actor, anything on IMDb is the theatrical releases, television or movies.
Yes. Right.
We don't know if he did like a theater production leading up
Well,
to
that I don't.
We don't know. Nobody knows. He would tell us.
No.
Yuji can tell us. Oh yeah,
Yuji, come
I'll-
on.
Yeah, Yuji can say, "Yo, I was in a theater production prior
Yeah.
to Karate Kid 2 to maybe that helped me prepare for Karate Kid." You know, we don't know those things. All we know is what we
Yeah,
have
he-
here in front of us.
He could have auditioned for The Karate Kid Part 2 before this movie even came out.
That's
Better Off
absolutely correct. Yeah. So what I love is
So-
I'd love to hear an absolute timeline because I love to see
Go
that,
on,
that-
timeline.
yeah, I love that progression. You know, I want to know where was he when he got that phone call for Karate Kid
Yeah.
2? You know, oh, that phone call from his agent, maybe, right? What?
Love
Karate Kid
it.
2? Karate Kid? Oh, the sequel to Karate Kid? Oh, yeah, yeah. You know, it's like that moment. Oh, I love that moment.
Yeah, but, well, I wish he still had the voicemail on his answer machine and we could just record
Oh,
it. That'd be great.
that would be so
Priceless
fantastic.
stuff. But regardless,
Yeah.
amazing job. Yuji kills it here. Really,
Yeah, a lot of
very
fun.
memorable.
Very
so when
fun
you see
role.
the movie, a good 50 minutes goes by and then he stops at a stoplight. And this movie's so well put together for the comedy that it is.
Yeah.
Just the beats are good. You can just tell by the editing, but they come rolling up. It's like, oh yeah. Then you're, it's like you were kind of hoping you'd see them again, and here they are.
Yeah.
That's the scenes, man. Just enough to miss you. And then they brought him back 3 times. So that was just enough. There's probably outtakes, Sal, of more of him. Plus his voice.
Yes.
We've
yes.
never heard his voice. So we
No,
want
yeah.
those takes.
There was an actual
bought this
recording.
in-
Yeah.
Most of the times you get special features, but then some movies just don't bother to package it like a director's commentary. And so
Yeah.
if it ever comes out and they have a commentary or deleted scenes, we may come back and revisit this. But I
would
thought it
love
was
it.
a lot of fun.
It
And
was.
by the way, I'm very
Yeah.
close to this movie, as I mentioned, from my youth.
Yeah.
So when I lived in Los Angeles for, the time that I did, almost 17 years,
Yeah.
I, at one point in time, lived in Glendale. Really nice parts, kind of by the hills. So I
Yeah.
looked this up one day because a lot of movies in the 80s didn't cheat it. They shot in Los Angeles. So the
Oh,
surrounding town.
really? Oh, wow. So
Well-
like when they showed you Reseda, it was actually Reseda?
Well, they weren't. So I know they shot some of the
When they
scenes-
showed us Encino, it was actually Encino in movies?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
They shot some of the skiing scenes in Utah, but
Yeah.
they shot in Glendale. They shot in La Cañada. And
Nice.
I've been to Lane Meyer's house. And that is, for those interested, 1636 Virginia Avenue, Glendale, California. I guess I could have looked the zip code up too.
When you
I
were
drove
out here,
by
you
one
visited
day.
you visited Lane Meyer's house when you were out here
I
because you
used to
knew the
live,
movie.
and I also used to live just a few miles from it, 91202 zip code.
Wow.
Yeah, and I took Nico by one day, took
Yeah.
photos of the house, took in the neighborhood because the foreign exchange student lived across the street, like one over, kind of, they could look at each other.
Mhm.
I couldn't believe it, man. The house looked exactly the same. So many scenes happen there. They're in front of the house. Sometimes he's working on his car. So
Yeah.
I encourage you to go by. Love it. I haven't been in the house, but
Yeah.
I know where it is. And it's just a time warp. It took me back to the movie that I have loved for so many years. But
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, thanks for bringing
there
this
you
to
go.
my attention. I do love us. I love the movie. Looks really silly, and I like a good silly comedy. I do.
Good. Well, it's silly, smart, and it holds up. And there's a lot of performances in there. You're gonna go, oh my God, I know that guy. I don't want to get
Nice.
into it, but
Sure.
maybe we'll dive into Let's Talk Movies with this.
Yes.
But there you go. There's our Better Off Dead 1985 scenes with Yuji Okumoto. And,
Yeah. Congratulations, Yuji. That's those are such memorable scenes. Really fantastic. Great to see you.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for listening, and please be sure to subscribe to the Let's Talk Cobra Kai podcast and the Let's Talk Cobra Kai YouTube live channel. You can also really help us by giving the show a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast.
And for all you listeners that enjoy sharing your thoughts, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, send us a direct message, or post a comment on any Let's Talk Cobra Kai social media platform.
If you're a dedicated listener or viewer of Let's Talk Cobra Kai, please consider supporting the show on Patreon. We also highly recommend checking out our other podcast and visiting justcuriousmedia.com.
No mercy.